Andrew struggled in vain to concentrate on work, but it was useless since his thoughts were occupied with problems at home. Their number was relentlessly increasing, and he could only guess what this tangled story would lead to. It all started with a falling out with his wife, fueled by her parents. "I knew this would happen," said her discontented father. "I don't even understand how or why you got involved with this, Melissa. If at least she were beautiful or striking, but she's just so ordinary." His mother supported him. "Not only did she burden us with her child, but now she's wrapping you around her finger." "She didn't burden anyone," the man snapped in those moments. "I knew full well that she had a son when we started our relationship, and no one hid Daniel from me. I made my choice." There was some truth to this, since his relatives had always been categorically against Melissa, seeing her as too proud, independent, and headstrong. She never considered having a child from a previous marriage a real problem, and didn't particularly value Andrew's relatives' attitude toward the boy. To her, it was so logical and natural that it wasn't even up for discussion. She always held to the belief that after the birth of a child, any future partner had to accept them as a package deal. "You can call Uncle Andrew by his name, or whatever feels comfortable for you," she once told Daniel after they decided to live together. "He's part of our family now." The boy didn't quite understand. "I already have a dad, and that will never change. We're just living together, and I need to know how to address an adult properly." Her former husband took his parental duties seriously, actively participating in his son's life. He and Alex had a good and peaceful life together until another woman appeared, and he decided to spend the rest of his life with her. Melissa had no right or desire to resist what was happening or interfere in the love life of two people. She moved back to her parents' apartment with her son, but every weekend Alex would pick up Daniel, and she let him go without protest. "You've lost your mind," her mother scolded. "You're letting your child stay with some unknown receptionist your ex left you for." "I'm letting my only child be with his father." Melissa had no intention of changing anything. His personal life shouldn't affect his relationship with Daniel or turn him against his dad. "I won't let that happen." And so they continued living alone until Andrew appeared. They were introduced by mutual friends, and their relationship developed naturally, simply, and uneventfully. Sometimes Melissa felt like they had known each other most of their lives, as if they were soulmates. There was no wild passion or heightened emotions between them, but she wasn't looking for that. The emotional roller coaster of her first marriage no longer appealed to her. She longed for the peace and quiet that Andrew radiated. The only source of worry was his strict and opinionated family. "So, you both already have a past," his potential mother-in-law remarked critically at their first meeting. "It seems like most people have their own past by the time they're 30. Melissa refused to back down. "But you already have a child," Nina pressed. "That happens sometimes. People have children," Melissa replied calmly. From that first meeting, Andrew's mother disliked Melissa. She wasted no time informing her only son, but he didn't seem to care. He had never been a mama's boy and had no problem accepting that the woman he loved had a child. He made every effort to befriend Daniel. "You do understand that the boy is old enough to know you're not his father." His mother couldn't let it go. "I'm not trying to be. He has a biological dad," Andrew responded. "And who's supporting Daniel?" "Maybe not just Daniel. Maybe Melissa is still in touch with her ex-husband, she prodded. These conversations frustrated Andrew. He knew his parents' concerns came from a place of care, but he wasn't willing to let them dictate his life. He had finally found stability and harmony, and their constant criticism only ruined his mood. They weren't in a rush to make their relationship official, deciding to first live together in a rented apartment. During the week, they spent time as a family, and every Saturday morning, Daniel's dad would come pick him up. The rest of their free time was spent on walks, trips to the theater, or movies. They enjoyed each other's company, and that seemed to be enough for a healthy relationship. Your parents don't like me, so let's agree now that you'll visit them on your own, Melissa said honestly one day, hoping to avoid conflict. They're good people, but my mom is just very set in her ways. Andrew tried to justify them. I'm sure they have many great qualities, but the truth is, our relationship will be much better at a distance than up close. She smiled. So, they agreed to only meet on holidays and special occasions. At Andrew's birthday gathering, his parents scrutinized the apartment and carefully sampled the food. Relax. I didn't poison the salads today. Melissa couldn't hold back. Saved it all for the cake, huh? His father joked. His mother, however, was offended and sulked the rest of the evening. To be safe, the guests left before dessert, which didn't upset Daniel at all. He had been eyeing the cake and sweets, but held back, not wanting to disobey his strict mother. His relationship with Andrew was fine, just as his relationship with his father's new partner was fine. Daniel didn't suffer much from his parents' divorce. He received plenty of love, attention, and gifts. Everything seemed almost perfect. Nina, however, was deeply concerned about her son's life. She disapproved of him living with a woman who already had a child, and she wasn't particularly fond of Daniel. She dreamed of her own grandchildren, preferably from a different daughter-in-law. But since Andrew stood firm in his decisions, his parents had no choice but to keep quiet and avoid conflict. I live alone now, Alex mentioned one weekend while picking up his son. What changed in your relationship status? Melissa asked with a smirk. It didn't work out. I keep thinking about our old life, he mused. We weren't in a rush to move on. You were the one eager for a fresh start. So we stepped aside. She replied. Over time, Alex hinted more and more at wanting to reconcile. But after his betrayal, Melissa was certain she had made the right decision. She still had feelings for him, but she wasn't about to play second fiddle in his revolving door of relationships. Today, we got ice cream with Dad, and then Aunt Irene came over and gave me a puzzle. Daniel told his mom after another weekend with his father. You don't have to introduce our son to every woman you date. He won't even remember their names, Melissa later told Alex over the phone. Irene is just a colleague, nothing more, Alex defended himself. Or are you jealous? I have someone to be jealous over, but no reason to be, she replied, honestly. She had no reason to doubt Andrew. He was loyal, devoted, and always present. But despite her appreciation for him, she had never fallen deeply in love with him. Have you thought about rekindling things with Alex? She hesitantly asked her mother one day. Have you learned nothing? He cheated before, and he'll cheat again. If you leave stable, reliable Andrew now, you won't be able to turn back, and you'll regret it, her mother warned. Later, walking past a cafe, Melissa spotted Alex with a striking brunette, their interaction far from businesslike. So, have you considered my proposal? he asked a few days later. There was nothing to consider, she said firmly. We only talk about Daniel. Our paths are separate now. And for the first time in a long while, she felt certain of her decision.